Welcome everyone to Move with Maegen. I'm Dr. Maegen Brady, physical therapist, and this evening I'm so excited to be bringing you the first installment of our stretching routine. So hop into something comfy, grab your water, and we'll get started. So we'll begin seated in a comfortable chair or on the edge of the bed or the couch. You can do any of these standing, by the way, but in a seated position, we're just going to start with some nice, gentle head circles. We're going to be going kind of head to toe. So we're just going to begin by kind of gently circling the head in one direction, starting either counterclockwise or clockwise, taking your time. Kind of rolling the ear down towards one shoulder, gently bringing it back, coming around towards the other shoulder. I'm just going to do a few times in this direction. Always, always, for everything we do, in a pain-free range of motion. So we'll do one more head circle in this direction, just starting to loosen up the neck. And then we'll come back to the middle, and we're going to take it in the other direction. So going in head circles in the opposite direction. They could be small head circles. You can bring them a little bit bigger as you loosen up. Or you could even just work on rotating the neck side to side, looking left and right. Do one more circle. And then we'll come back to the middle. Again, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to bring the chin down towards the chest. So we want a nice, long, strong line from your pelvis to your chest. Now bringing just the chin down towards the chest. We're going to pause there. And then we're going to inhale, look up towards the middle. And then we're going to take the back part of the head towards the upper back. So looking up towards the ceiling, pause. And then again, inhale, come back to the middle. We'll do a few times, bringing the chin down towards the chest, pausing. Nice. And then inhaling back to the middle, and then slowly looking up, letting the back of the head drop back. And again, never any pain, never any dizziness, just stay in a comfortable range of motion as we do one more time each direction. What's always interesting to see is how you don't really have to push or force anything. The body's super smart. It'll respond over time. And then coming back to the middle. Next, we'll take one ear down towards the shoulder. So again, sitting up with that nice tall posture, your chest over the pelvis, the spine straight. We're going to tilt one ear down to the shoulder. We're going to pause there. And then we're going to come back to the middle and tilt the ear to the opposite shoulder, pausing, that same thing. As we come back to the middle and switch back side to side, just a reminder that we're not tilting the body, we're keeping the shoulders steady as we tilt the ear to the shoulder. Inhale back to the middle, tilting the other ear to the shoulder. By the way, you can do as many times as you'd like if something really feels good and you want to stick with it, if you want to spend some quality time in that spot, or do a few extra, you're more than welcome to. But we'll do one more to top it off. Great work. We're going to take it to the shoulders now. So we're going to be doing some gentle shoulder circles. Bring your arms by your shoulder level. And we're just going to begin with some nice, small, tight circles. And it's always good to see if you're sitting in a spot which can allow you to bring your wingspan out a little bit. So that being said, I'm going to scoot forward a little bit. Really let my wings fly. And you can start to kind of open up the circles a little bit, making bigger circles going in one direction. One more rotation. And then coming back to hands at shoulder level, we'll again start with those smaller circles in the opposite direction. So just taking it nice and slow, then starting to widen, bring those circles a little bit bigger. Remembering to breathe. So right here, we'll do one more rotation and then back to the middle. We'll next do a bit of a bear hug. Take your arms out towards the sides. We're going to cross the arms together, kind of grabbing towards the back of the shoulders. We're going to take a deep breath in here. And then on your exhale, we're going to bring it back out towards the beginning where we started. And we're going to switch which arm was on top. So now taking the other arm up over the other. Nice deep breath in. And then coming back out again, opening through the chest and the shoulders. Now we'll bring one arm out so that the hand is in line with your shoulder. We're going to take the other hand right on top of the wrist. So kind of just past the crease of where the wrist bends or where your watch would sit. So you're actually on the hand. We're going to gently bring the hand and the fingertips down towards the ground. We're going to be here for about 30 seconds. Just breathing into that stretch on the top of the forearm. The muscles we're kind of stretching the hand away from. Keeping the shoulder nice and relaxed down away from the ear. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And one more deep breath out. And then we'll switch it over to the other side. So the other arm is going to come out in front. You're going to gently bring your hand on top of the wrist. You're pointing and bringing the fingers down towards the ground. And again, about 30 seconds here. The tendency sometimes is to want to kind of shrug the shoulder up, keep the shoulder down nice and relaxed away from the ears. We're focusing not so much on the shoulder, but a little bit more into the forearm and the wrist here. This is so great for anyone that works at a computer for an extended period of the day, just taking breaks throughout the day and stretching those forearms and wrists. And next breath out, we'll bring the arm back down. We're going to switch over to the first hand we did, and this time we're going to put the hand on the palm and the fingers. We're going to kind of stretch the wrist coming up this time. So now the fingertips are coming up towards the ceiling. And we'll be here for 30 seconds. Now stretching the underside of the wrist, opening up that space, maybe even feeling it into the upper part of the forearm, where the elbow is. We'll take one more breath here. And then breath out, bringing the hand back down. And we'll switch it over to the other side. So right in front, taking your hand on the palm, on the wrist, and just bringing the fingertips back towards you. Few deep breaths here. Poor forearms, poor wrists, poor fingers. They do so much for us throughout the day. Rarely do we ever really think to kind of stop and stretch what's working, whether you're writing, cooking, texting, computer, whatever. And then we'll bring the hands back down. Now we're going to start to transition a little bit more to the lower body. And we'll begin by bending at the waist. You may want to kind of open the knees apart a little bit if you're seated. So we're going to reach down towards the ground. We're going to be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly, slowly, just as purposefully as you went down, we're going to come sit back up. And then putting your hands on your hips. We're going to kind of arch the back, opening the chest towards the ceiling. Again for 3, 2, 1, and then coming back towards the middle, taking that arch out of the back, bringing that string back up towards the ceiling. Again, we're going to bend down between the knees, reaching towards the toes for 5, 4, 3, relax the head, and then slowly, slowly coming from the base of the spine all the way back up, rolling the shoulders back at the top. Hands can go on the hips and a little bit of an arch through the back, expanding through the chest. Breathe in. And then come back to the middle. We're going to do that one more time. So at your pace, whatever feels good for you, just going down as far as feels comfortable, breathing. Feels good for the neck and shoulders. Same thing, breathing in as you come back up. And continuing that breath as you arch into extension. Nice. Now we'll come back to the middle, hands down by the sides, and we'll do a few stretch to the side. Come back to the middle. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. That string pulls you up to the ceiling. Take that moment before we go to the other direction. Nice. Inhale back to the middle. Keeping the hips nice and level so that that opposite hip stays kind of rooted down towards the chair if you're seated. Opening up through the side body. Inhaling back to the middle. And the same thing goes for the other side. Kind of rooting or keeping that side of the pelvis, the bum down. Nice. So one more each direction at your own pace. And last one. Great. Now I like to put my hands on the next one on my thighs. We're going to start to rotate the shoulders, the chest, the belly button towards one direction. And then we'll inhale, come back to the middle. And then exhale as we rotate towards the other direction. Nice. Inhale again, sitting up nice and tall. The hips are level. Rotating like you're wringing a sponge from the belly button. Inhale back to the middle, staying nice and tall as again we rotate, wringing that sponge in the other direction. Great. We'll do one more each direction, so take your time. Again, one side might feel different from the other. That's totally normal. That's okay. The same for all of these. Just take your time, kind of breathe into how it feels for you right now. And then come back to the middle. In a seated position, we're now going to take one ankle, we're going to cross it over the other knee. So sitting up nice and tall, one foot sturdy on the ground, one hand on the ankle, one hand on the knee of the leg that is crossed. Sitting up nice and tall, again imagining that string pulling your head towards the ceiling and your chest up. We'll be here for at least 30 seconds. So going gently. If this doesn't work for you, you can always use kind of a stool on the ground to rest your foot and doing the same kind of, little falling out to the side with the knees, really great. But if you're here, we want to take a few more deep breaths in, lengthen, and then breath out. Imagine that knee coming down towards the ground a little farther. 2 more like that. Inhale. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. 1 more to see where else we can fill up. And let go. Nice. We'll inhale, bring that knee off, the other ankle off the knee. And we're going to switch to the other side. So bringing the opposite ankle up. One hand on the ankle, one hand on the knee. And while we work on this side, again, just working with what you got, not forcing or pushing anything. This is so healthy for the hip, that ball and socket joint, the head of the thigh bone that fits into the pelvis. We're kind of, massaging that ball and socket joint. Some of those big hip rotators and some of those little hip rotators that wrap around our hip and our low back, really giving some nice love and blood flow to those areas. So take 1 more breath in. 1 more breath out. And then we'll gently bring that ankle back down towards the ground. And next we'll come towards the edge of the chair. And we'll do kind of like a seated straddle stretch. Say that 5 times fast. Seated straddle stretch. You're going to bring your legs straight out in front of you. So you're seated right on the edge of the chair. And with both legs straight, we're going to sit up nice and tall here. We're going to take about 30 seconds just to kind of stretch through both legs. Always the option to do it one at a time as well, which is kind of nice. But you don't necessarily have to get down on the ground to do a little bit of hip opening, even just seated in the office chair. Take a few more breaths in and out. Nice. Last inhale. And exhale. And then we'll bring both legs back underneath you. And we'll move down to the ankles. So seated in this position, we're going to bring one ankle out and we're going to do a few ankle circles in one direction. Maybe kind of opening in whatever way feels good. Sometimes little noises in any part of the body. Our body makes a lot of noises. Unless they're painful, we're not too worried. But as always, if there's any pain, drop me a message or talk to your local physical therapist. Definitely always want to advocate getting that addressed. We're going to switch to the other side. So we're doing circles in one direction with the second ankle. Just kind of drawing, like imagine if there's a laser pointer coming off of your foot. You're drawing some nice big circles. So maybe one more, and we'll come back down. And then we'll bring it back to the first leg. Whatever direction you did not go in, we're going to switch it up, go in the opposite direction. It's interesting for me, it's kind of always easier to go counterclockwise for whatever reason. It reminds me of that rubbing the belly and patting the head kind of thing. Going the opposite direction. And one more, and then we'll switch it up, taking it to the second foot, bringing the ankle in the opposite direction. All right, so that concludes our seated stretching sequence. Another alliteration for you. Now, if you have a foam roller, you can grab that. If not, a tennis ball or some other sort of ball works really well. I'm a big fan of these tune-up fitness yoga balls because they're nice and kind of squishy and a little bit more forgiving. We're going to start with either the foam roller or the ball up against the wall. And we're going to bring it right between the shoulder blades. So kind of starting at the mid-back on one side of the body. And we're just going to kind of bend and straighten the knees a few times so that we're kind of rolling our body on the ball. So we'll take about 4 or 5 passes there. Feeling just how much pressure we can tolerate. We're not going for pain, really just for a little bit of a light massage in that area. One more. Nice. And then we're going to bring it over to the other side. So the right side, right between the shoulder blades, really between the back and that right shoulder blade. We're now kind of do the same thing, just up and down a few times, putting just as much pressure as feels good. So you're totally in control here. You can kind of explore what feels good, what areas might need a little bit more love after we're done, what areas you might want to revisit tomorrow. We'll do one more pass there. Now we can stick with the same side, but we're just going to move the ball a little bit lower. So now kind of the lower quarter of the back, kind of where the rib cage ends, right above the tail, the hip area. And we'll do that same thing. We're just going to take a few passes up and down on this side. So breathing into those muscles. And hey, you might find some areas that are like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that was so tender, so sore. So it's kind of an interesting way of diagnosing as well as kind of treating, feeling where things are worth hanging on to. Let's try the other side. So bring it over to the other lower quarter of the body, and we'll take a few passes there up and down. And going along the spine is really interesting because very deep to some of the big muscles we have along our back, there are these small, fine muscles, and they kind of connect each vertebrae to each other. They kind of run along different courses. So these small, teeny tiny spinal muscles, we're seeing if we can kind of get a little bit of pressure and a little bit of blood flow to those areas too. The last kind of area on the back is going to be kind of the lowest part of the back where your pelvis starts. So we're kind of on the bony parts of the pelvis. We're going to put the ball kind of just above that area. And again, we'll just do a few passes up and down. You might be kind of going over where those little bony dimples are in the hip area in the back there. Basically, you can freestyle as long as you are not directly on, vertebrae or a bone that's painful. And as long as you're not causing tingling or numbness, we really kind of want to just freestyle and explore what feels good. Can't go wrong unless your body's telling you it is. We're going to go to the other side now. So going up and down again on that lowest kind of part of the hip, the low back. 2 more passes. And then we'll take the ball and we're going to bring it towards the back of our butt. We're going to put it between the wall and our bum. We're just going to take a few passes side to side there too. We can go like left and right. Kind of easy to just shimmy back and forth here. This is definitely an area where I start to make some fun faces. These hip muscles, they do so much for us. They deserve a little bit of love at the end of the day. We can move it a little bit lower. Yeah, and really another kind of no-go zone in the hip or the butt area is kind of like right under like the fold of the butt. There's a lot of vasculature, arteries that kind of run through there. So we're never going very, very hard underneath the fold of the butt. We're kind of staying more on like the top area of it where a lot of the glute muscles kind of run through. You can take it a little bit lower. And our hip muscles really kind of go from the triangle of our pelvis, and they kind of run over to the outside of the hip on like a horizontal line rather. So we're kind of following that line, working a little bit there. And then when you're ready, we can take it to the other side. We'll do those same kind of three sections there. So starting at kind of the top of the butt, we're just below the hip area. And we're going to bring it down a little bit lower. I can't see anybody else, but you can always drop me some comments about what feels good, what you'd like to do a little bit more of, what you'd like to do a little bit less of. And then we'll bring it to that last little third. Just going side to side. Great. Now we're going to go a little bit lower towards the hamstrings. So putting the tennis ball kind of against the wall again, we're going to bring the leg right up against it and go back and forth a few times. Then we can move it a little bit lower towards kind of like the mid half of the hamstrings, the back of the leg, the back of the thigh. And then we can move it a little bit lower, kind of above where the back of the knee crease is. Our hamstrings are what run from the bony part of our bum down towards the back of the knee. Kind of split, make up the back of the thigh. We can switch over to the other side now. Sometimes it's nice too to have a little bit of a bigger ball. So if you have a foam roller, it can work a little bit. It'll work pretty well here. Or even if you have like one of those play balls, those are kind of nice, softer, squishier ball. We bring it down a little bit lower. Breathe in. And then last area is just that lower part of the thigh above the knee crease. Great. Now we can take the ball and turn on the wall. We're going to bring it just above, right on kind of the side of the hip. So we're putting a little bit of pressure against the wall, and we're just going to go kind of turning a little bit side to side. So kind of turning the body to the left, turning the body to the right, and then we can bring it down a little bit. Again, turning the body to the left and right a few times. Just continuing to kind of bring the ball down the side of the leg, down the side of the IT band. Big, really wonderful structure, a lot of fascia that runs from the side of the hip down to the side of the knee. It's something that needs strength and support around it from a lot of the muscles in the hip. And it also needs, hydration and pressure. This is really where the self-massage can be really beneficial. So we'll do one more little pass on the one leg. You go all the way down to the side of the knee. And then we'll switch it over to the other leg. So bringing the ball on the wall just to kind of the hip crease area, just going back and forth a few times. And then bringing it down a little bit lower. And then continuing to move down a little bit each time. Just as a reminder too, remember to drink a lot of water after tonight. You did a lot of stretching. We did a lot of kind of flushing out of waste products from the muscles with the self massage and stretching. So it's really important to, as always, drink just a ton of water. We want to kind of flush out anything that might have popped up from tonight. So you're more than welcome to revisit any of those areas or revisit any of those stretches. The great thing about these videos is that they're always here, and I'm trying to edit them for YouTube as well. But that is it for movement this evening. We'll finish with a short guided meditation. So you can find a comfortable seat with your feet on the ground. You can even lay down on the ground with your legs supported with pillows underneath it, or maybe your legs up on the wall, whatever's comfortable for your body after the work we just did. And before we go into the meditation, I'll say that I've been studying and thinking a lot about pain management with meditation and just the ways that we think about pain and perceive our pain. So we'll be keeping that framework in mind as we go into meditation. We're not going to dive directly into an area of pain, but we're also not going to completely ignore it. We're going to kind of feel and think around it. So you can, right now, start to think about an area in your body you'd like to focus on, maybe an area of discomfort or pain. And without dwelling on it too much, again, find that comfortable seat. We'll just begin when you're ready with a few deep breaths. So beginning to inhale in through the nose. Exhale through the nose or mouth. I guess you can outhale too. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. And on your next breath out, you can close your eyes, start to bring your attention inward. Feel the pressure of your body. Feel your entire body. So we're kind of zooming out a little bit and just feeling the contact of your body wherever it is, head to toe, in the position you're in right now. Just beginning to appreciate that position. And still with that zoomed out position, maybe start to appreciate any sounds going on around you, any smells. Not getting involved with them or judging or thinking about them, but just noticing anything going on around you. And then bringing your attention back inwards towards your body. Start to pay some attention to your breath. So feeling the inhales and the way that your rib cage expands when you breathe in. And then feeling the way that balloon, that rib cage kind of deflates or retreats as you breathe out. Again, a few more deep breaths in. And on the next breath out, we're going to kind of zoom in from that wider view of the body a little bit closer towards that area of pain, the area you've identified that you'd like to think about and work on a little bit. And pain tends to radiate. It tends to have kind of a radius or an area around it where it becomes more intense in the middle, but less intense towards the borders of the outsides. I want you to kind of take your attention, take your mind towards the borders, take your attention towards the outside of that radius of pain, however small it is, however big it is, just kind of finding that outer fence or that outer border of where you can appreciate and notice the pain, but not get too deeply involved with it yet. As you continue your deep breaths, Next, from the outer border, the outer edge of that pain, starting to recognize the shape that the pain takes. Is it a large area? Is it smaller and more concentrated? Is it very specific, or is it kind of squiggly, hard to tell boundaries? Just taking a moment to kind of notice the shape of the pain or discomfort. Deep breaths. The last way to think about it is to identify the sensation of the pain. So is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it more tingly, numb, pins and needles? Is it hot and burning? Or is it kind of a cool pain or discomfort? So just noticing the sensation around your pain with a few more deep breaths. And then on your next breath, let your mind go free and come away from the discomfort or the pain. Kind of let it go to whatever you wanted to think about during this time. And then on your next breath in, start to bring your attention back towards your body, the sounds around you, smells. And then when you're ready, only when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And just take a moment before you start moving and grooving to feel and appreciate the feeling and the way that your mind and your body feel right now after the meditation on pain and noticing that area. Can you take a little bit of that with your day-to-day? Can you kind of take away the judgment that we feel about pain or how things should feel or how things may feel in the future, but just kind of noticing how you feel in that moment? Can you take that with you throughout the course of your day? And perhaps you can take some of the self-rolling or self-massaging techniques that we used, as well as the breathing and stretching that we started with. I want to thank everyone so much for joining me this evening. It is always a pleasure to move with folks I wouldn't get to see normally. And I also love being held accountable. I love getting to take this time to work on my body and with so many people that I love so much. So thank you so much, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of the night.